Welcome to the Main Allure podcast. I am your host, Laura, your unofficial mentor and motivator. Let me ask you this. What if the version of you 6 months from now could walk into the room right now? What would they thank you for? Would they thank you for your choices you're making today or call you out for playing small or not at all? Preparing for a transformation isn't about just waiting for that perfect moment to happen. It requires a lot of building, brick by brick, habit by habit. And today we're going to talk about exactly how you can set the stage for your glow up so that when that future you arrives, they're unstoppable. The thing is that too many of us completely skip that evaluation stage. Sometimes we just keep running around on the hamster wheel, setting new goals, continuing to put one goal in front of another without ever checking in on the old ones. And there's research from the American Psychological Association, which shows that people who regularly reflect on progress are more likely to stick to the goals for the long term. Now, you may be wondering why. Well, that's because reflection gives you feedback. And with feedback comes the motivation to continue. And it's that fuel that will help you keep going no matter what. Think about the time when you go to the gym and there's no way that you can go in there, do a bunch of reps, do a bunch of squats, sit-ups, and not even check your stomach, check your, see if your glutes are have improved, even if you've only done 10 reps, right? So it's interesting. And I'll give you an example of the benefit of checking on yourself often. I remember way back when I was in my early 20s, I used to love reading magazines, and there were interviews from both Halle Berry and Cher. And for some reason, these interviews just stuck with me because in Hollywood, people always ask those questions to the women. How do you stay looking so great? What is your secret? And both of them said almost the same thing. They said, well, I've always kept jeans from when I was young. And so Halle Berry I remember they were like Disney jeans. And she said, yeah, anytime I would go on holiday, wintertime or like Christmas, when you're eating Thanksgiving, that kind of thing. And she said she would always pull out her jeans, her favorite jeans, and she would try them on. And that's how she would gauge whether or not she had gained some weight and needed to go back to her original weight. Cher used to do the same thing. She said, oh yeah, I always keep these old pair of jeans from way back when. And that's how I knew whether or not either I needed to lose weight or if something had changed in my body. And so I found it super interesting. And so I started doing it when I was young myself. So I always ended up staying within that range between my original size, which it was super helpful. Again, that's an example of how you can always find ways to always check in on yourself, make sure you're holding yourself accountable so that you're not losing sight of what you want, who you are. Because if you think about it, if all of a sudden we go up a size in our jeans and we say, oh, well, I guess I should go up another size and another size, we don't realize how much our own size has changed because all we've done is put on the jeans we have, realize that they don't fit anymore, and then just switch them up for a bigger size. So find ways that you can hold yourself accountable and know where to push yourself next. I have some end of season updates that I want to make at the end of the episode, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, there are other transformations that have been absolutely hard to ignore. And they come from stopping, evaluating, and also even pivoting into a new glow up. The first one I could think about is Michelle Obama. Before she became the first lady, she was a lawyer, an executive, but she took the time to evaluate what mattered most to her. So she decided to refocus her time and dedicated her life to service, to making an impact, to even her family. That reflection shaped her into that powerhouse that she is today. So think about that. Pivoting and glowing up could look different for everyone. Then there's actor Robert Downey Jr., who at one point in his life, his career was pretty much almost over. He had a few scandals. With those struggles came some self-reflection and some serious transformation, which led to him becoming who we know him as today, which is Iron Man. Now, I don't know about you, but he's probably my favorite superhero from the franchise. So I am absolutely glad he took that time to make sure to work on himself, because otherwise we would have had somebody else as Iron Man. And at this point, I could never really envision that. So he's actually one of the most beloved actors today. And here's a funny tidbit. When you think of Nintendo, and I don't know if I'm aging myself, but if you remember the video game Nintendo, it was originally founded as a playing card company in the 1800s. Can you believe that? But yes, it was absolutely about cards, playing cards. But they evaluated the market, pivoted into toys, and eventually into video games. They gave us things like Mario, Super Mario, Zelda, and generations of fun. So imagine if they wouldn't have taken a step back and realized, hey, you know what? We need to glow up ourselves. Let's work on that. Let's reevaluate where we are and work on our new transformation. That's why you see so many companies trying to update their branding, update how they are perceived by their audience, right? Like their users, their customers, because at the end of the day, you have to change with the times. You have to be able to adapt and adjust. It didn't work that well for Cracker Barrel. I know that they went through that process and they were trying to become a little bit more up with the times, but their audience didn't like it. They were absolutely fine with them remaining the same. So that's also a way to realize whether or not things are actually okay with the way things are going for you. And if that's the case, maybe you don't need to change anything. But the idea is that you take that time to reevaluate and understand where you fall in between all of that transformation. So how do you evaluate your own progress and set up your next transformation? Well, I'm going to give you some examples of things that you can try and see how that works. And the first one is the 3 wins method, which is writing down the 3 wins from your past season, whatever that is, and how long that is. So no matter how small, make sure that you're counting the progress that you've made, no matter what, all right? The next one is auditing those energy drains, making sure you cut out any distractions. It could be habits, it could be people, or even commitments that you feel are draining you for this season or even this upcoming season. So sometimes you have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes those things block your glow up. And we have to admit to ourselves that there are things and people and places and everything that could potentially harm or hinder your progress. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to completely eliminate these things. It could just be that you need to put it on a shelf for now so that you could go back to it later. But the idea is to hyper-focus on the thing that you want so that you can eliminate those distractions and really get to the thick of it, which is transforming yourself. I would absolutely love that for you. The next thing you can do is ask next level questions. Instead of saying, how should I fix something? Ask more meaningful questions like, what version of me do I want to step into next? This is why evaluating your previous progress makes so much sense, because then you will know where you are, what type of ground you're standing on in order to understand what steps you need to take next. And lastly, it's absolutely crucial to build in celebration rituals for all of those wins that you're going to make, that transformation that's going to happen over time. Reward yourself as you go. Don't sit around waiting for the final chapter, because science shows that those dopamine spikes reinforce your habits. So yes, that celebratory latte, that dance party that actually helps you keep going, those are absolutely important, because it will show you that sense of reward. And I've always said we're like little puppies. Every time that you want to achieve something, always think of what reward you're going to give yourself and make sure that you're counting on it. I mean, I'll be honest, this is how I gained 10 pounds when I was in college, because every time I was completing a 20-page essay, I was rewarding myself with my favorite food. So yes, that did happen. So I'm not ashamed to say it. Don't be scared to celebrate your wins, because if you don't do it, who else is going to? Okay, I had to throw in a little celebration for a minute. But anyway, this week's challenge and the last challenge of the season for episode 20 is to take 20 minutes to reflect, write down your top 3 wins, your top 3 lessons, and as well as one bold upgrade you're ready to make for the next season. So that will be your glow up blueprint. And you can think of it as, having almost half of a year left if you're into resolutions or whatever, or maybe you're doing this for your birthday, whatever time frame you want to work on. Give yourself that time to understand what has worked, what hasn't, and where you want to go next. As I wrap up this episode and this season, I just want to make sure that you're celebrating you. So if you've been listening, reflecting, and making even the tiniest shifts from the very first episode, episode 1, to now, you are already in the process of transforming. And the reason why I decided to focus on these topics as the beginning of my podcast is because we almost always never reflect on ourselves. We think that everything is external, but I feel like once we understand who we are intrinsically, that is really the very first step into understanding what else is best for us, what works for us, and how to go about making changes to get to where we need to be. Obviously, this looks different for everyone, so I'm not here to prescribe anything specifically. My goal is to always make sure that you are reflecting on what works for you. That definitely, if you've been doing that, it deserves a win, a dance. Make sure when you're waking up in the morning, make sure you're dancing and finding a favorite song and cheering for yourself, at least smiling at yourself in the mirror. It's something to make sure that you are giving yourself the credit that you deserve. The exciting part is that, of course, I am coming back with a brand new season, and it's going to start in the week of December 1st. As I mentioned before, I'm taking a short break just to regroup, just as I mentioned. But it's all about helping you grow, glow, and level up even more. And we're going to talk about real life topics. We're going to get a little bit deeper into these subjects. Potentially, we're going to use real life scenarios so that we can pretty much dissect them. And I want to make sure that I make this a little bit more interactive. I know that I'm a one-woman show, but I wanted to make this as interactive as I can. And that's going to be my goal for the next season. So make sure that you stay tuned, stick around. Make sure that you subscribe, share these episodes with your friends, family, whoever you feel can benefit from my episodes, and get ready because your next glow up is just getting started. So until then, keep reflecting, keep celebrating yourself, and remember that every season of your life is a chance to transform. I almost forgot. Make sure that you're following my Instagram, The Main Allure, as well as my YouTube channel, because I plan on communicating with you guys through there until then. So I'm going to be sharing updates and things like that. So make sure that you follow me on Instagram, The Main Allure, as well as my YouTube channel. So don't forget, that's where you'll find me. So until next time, keep being awesome. Take care. Bye.